How do you increase the occupancy on your Airbnb portfolio? The reality is we're living in a different time. It's a lot more competitive today than it was in 2020, 2021, or even 2022. And of course, the interest rate environment today is having an impact on all short-term rentals and in 99% of all other businesses and all other industries in the US. So this isn't just a short-term rental challenge, but it's an economic challenge that everyone is experiencing. And in this video, I want to break down some very specific tactical strategies that you can implement to increase your occupancy, revenue, and ultimately your cash flow. Let's jump right in. The first thing that you want to do is make sure you fully optimize your listings. One of the things that people try to cut corners on is photography. Do not, let me say it for the people in the back, do not try to cut corners with your photography. You got to make sure you hire a real estate photographer that has that nice wide lens with a really good professional camera, because this is your marketing. If you have crappy photography on a great property, the people who book your listing are going to be like, wow, this looks so much better in person. It's like the opposite of being catfished, right? They're like, this looks pretty good. And then it's like amazing. And that just means that you probably are leaving a lot of money on the table. So make sure you hire a real estate photographer. Also, you want to make sure that you are using SEO friendly titles and descriptions. You should try this after you watch this video, or even pause this video and go try this out. If you go on Google and you search for the type of property, if you describe the listing that you would love to be able to stay at. For example, let's say you want to go to Newport Beach, California, right? It's beautiful here, Newport Beach. And let's say there's a group of 6 people and you want to stay sometime in the summer and you want a property that has a pool and a jacuzzi. Well, if you went on Google and you put Airbnb in Newport Beach, California with a pool and a jacuzzi, guess what? The listings in that area that have a pool and a jacuzzi, and more importantly, mention that in their title and or in their description, it's going to pop up right away at the top of Google, because Airbnb has implemented, right, SEO, search engine optimization. So you want to make sure that whatever your property is like, make sure you describe it in the title and in the description. That is going to help you get more visibility, more eyeballs, and ultimately more bookings. Now, this next part is very important. Nowadays, we are definitely playing a game of whoever has the most and best amenities wins. You see, prior to 2020, people would mostly stay at Airbnbs because they were going to an event or a conference. But ever since 2020 and after, people started to have a staycation experience. And this is where families or groups of friends or coworkers will get together, book an Airbnb for a weekend, usually for 2, 3, 4 days at a time. And they're not going to a conference or a concert or a wedding. They're actually just planning on having a great time in the home without needing to go anywhere. And some of the best amenities that you could have in a property are a pool, a jacuzzi, and a game room. Now, you don't have to have all of these, but the more, the merrier. You can also get a fire pit, create an outdoor seating area with Edison lights, anything to really enhance experience and to really create that ambiance. But of course, it'll be very expensive to go and build a pool if you currently don't have a pool. But you can always buy an above ground jacuzzi. You can put in a game room. You can buy some arcades, little basketball court, and most of these things you can buy them on Amazon. So make sure you set up your property with some games, even Monopoly, Uno, Jenga. All these activities will enhance the experience and ultimately help you get more bookings, because again, nowadays people want to have a staycation experience. Now, of course, if you could combine both, for those of you that are watching this video and you're starting either your first or next property, make sure, which leads me to my next point, that you are near the downtowns, near the convention centers, the theme parks, the beaches, wherever there is ongoing activity year round. People are going to need a place to stay. And for the last few years, people would rather stay at an Airbnb than in a stinky hotel where they and their friends are going to be separated, right? For example, a couple years ago, there was about 27 of me and my wife's family members. We all booked a property in Palm Springs, California. Yes, 27 people, including kids, lots of kids. This was a massive, like 7-bedroom home. Long story short, it was so cool to be able to all be together in a single family, one level home with pool, a jacuzzi, a barbecue, a game room. I mean, the house was massive, like 3,000 plus square feet, and it was more than enough space for everybody. We had such a good time cooking together, breakfast, lunch, dinner, watching movies, playing games. If we were to stay at a hotel, like we would all be separated, like it was really cool how the kids got to be able to hang out and, have a little sleepover in the living room. It's just an experience that you cannot create at a hotel. So when you combine staying in that main downtown area where there is year-round activity and you combine that staycation experience with games and amenities, that is part of how you get into the top 1% of Airbnbs in the areas or create a top 1% property in your area. By the way, if you guys are enjoying this video, make sure you guys hit that like button. My team and I put countless of hours putting these videos together, and I would really appreciate a like. Let's talk about how to optimize your pricing to maximize your bookings and your cash flow. Personally, I like to be booked for the next 3 weeks out, and I don't want to be booked out 1 month from now, 2 months from now, 3 months from now. I'll never forget, I had this student who hadn't gone through the part of my course where I talk about this pricing strategy. And he came to one of my events and he's like, Jorge, look at my bookings. Coach, I'm booked for the next 3 months. And this guy would literally, and it wasn't like one booking. It was a bunch of 3, 4, 5 day bookings. And he was booked out for the next 2.5 to 3 months. And I was like, congratulations, you've just left thousands of dollars on the table. And he was like, what do you mean? Obviously, it was great because not only was he paying all of his rent, he was still cash flowing like $1,500 to $2,200 each month. But this was in, heading in towards the peak months, and he could have been making $4 or $5 grand a month of cash flow. But because his pricing was so low, it started to get booked like crazy. Hence, he left a ton of money on the table. So here's the thing. You don't want to be booked out for the next 2-3 months because that means you are charging too low. And you don't want to be only booked for the next 5 to 7 days because that means you're charging too high. So you always want to find that happy medium. And that happy medium for me being booked for the next 3 weeks. So for example, let's pretend like today is June 1st. If today was June 1st, I want to be booked from June 1st up until June 21st. After that, I want to have bookings, but just, bookings from time to time. Maybe 6 days booked in July, 4 days booked in August, maybe 1 weekend in September, and that's it. I don't want to be fully booked out. That means I am leaving a ton of money on the table. And so the other thing that I like to do as part of that pricing strategy is anytime I have vacancy inside of a 3-week period, right? That means if today's June 1st and between June 1st and June 21st, let's say there is 7 days that are vacant, I'm going to bring the price down for those 7 vacant days inside of a 3-week period from today in order to create demand for some smaller group of people who are looking to book something on short notice. And here's what I mean by that. Most of my properties host 8 to 12 people. It's unlikely that somebody's going to book my property 7 days out for a group of 10 and they're going to pay full price of, call it $400 a night. It's just not likely unless it's peak time in the summer, which it is here in Southern California. But if I bring my price down from 400 to maybe 200, I'll cut it in half because it's 7 days out, I will likely attract a group of 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 people who are looking for something on short notice because smaller groups of people are more likely to book within a short notice time. Whereas large groups of people, let's say there's a group of 20 people. Sometimes you got to exaggerate for these things to make sense. Let's say there's a group of 20 people coming to LA. They're not going to be like, hey, we should go to LA next week. And then all of a sudden 20 people are able to get time off of work or their businesses and just make it happen. But a group of 3, totally, right? Just text your 2 friends. Hey, let's get up and go to LA next week. That is more likely to happen. And so as long as you bring down your pricing inside of a 3-week period, you are likely to get those days booked. Now, the idea though is you don't want to be so cheap on your price that you attract somebody that would have stayed normally at a Motel 6, right? You're going to attract the wrong audience. So just make sure you don't bring it down too low where you start to attract and create problems. Another way to increase your bookings is to gain superhost status. If you don't know how to gain superhost status, you got to get on average a overall rating of 4.8. You also must get 10 bookings all within a 3-month period. So let's say you launched your listing on January 1st. As long as you get 10 bookings before April 1st, right? That gives you 3 months to get 10 bookings, which you should be able to do. And you have an average of 4.8 and no cancellations, you're going to gain superhost status. There is a filter whenever you are searching for property where you can click on, I only want to see properties that are hosted by superhost. So if you are not a superhost, you will not come up under that filter. So that alone will help you gain more visibility, more bookings, and you could charge more money than your competitors who are not superhost. You can also leverage social media. Why not create an Instagram account for your Airbnb profile and market and make a post a couple times a week, use hashtags, and this would be another great way that you can either get direct bookings or bookings from Airbnb. By the way, if you guys are enjoying this video, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, and this way you guys can be notified of every video after today. Now, the next part is to connect with relocation companies in your area. Go on Yelp and find insurance companies that offer relocation services. And whenever they have clients who had some type of damage in their home and they need somewhere to relocate for a few weeks or a few months, guess what? You can get these bookings directly as well. So it's another way that you can get more bookings, more revenue, and ultimately more cash flow. Thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure you guys connect with me on Instagram where I post content every day. And as always, if you have questions, drop them in the comments down below and I'll see you guys on the next one.